What is going on, Panthers Nation? Carolina Dad here. We are back from training camp, and I am back with a rapid reaction video. We'll talk about my experience or our experience with training camp as we get later into the episode. We've got a vlog video that is posted. I'm going to have a true breakdown of training camp itself being moved to Charlotte at a later episode. Had to get this one out as quickly as possible because we were traveling, spent what, 6 hours on the road yesterday, probably close to 7. Wanted to make sure that I got out in front of all the news that's happened from what I saw and getting into what we heard in the pressers yesterday. So without further ado, let's jump right in. All right, y'all, let's kick it off again, keeping with the same presentation and format that we had last time. What do we have today? Agenda. Let's talk about Dave Canales, what we heard in his presser, Taylor Moton, DJ Johnson, an update on tight ends, quarterbacks, and some transactions or a transaction, I guess two corresponding transactions that happened yesterday, and Julius Peppers being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Have a very small clip of that if you did not have a chance to see it. Let's get started. First of all, I told you I'm going to dive into training camp and our thoughts and how it went later in another episode, and I'll bring Nolan on as well. This is awesome. We got a picture from Panthers.com of Nolan right there on the front row in his 21 Gamecocks jersey, getting autographs. He got autographs from all the linebackers, I think, like outside of Shaq Thompson yesterday. Really fun. We're going to talk about that much more, but I had to highlight this photo, one, because it's awesome. We're going to have to go and get that printed and framed for him to keep. Really cool to see that. All right, Dave Canales and his presser. Quite a few things. He did talk about Julius Peppers being inducted into the Hall of Fame, as well as a few injury updates, and I can go through the list. Tommy Tremble battling the hamstring. Ian Thomas also now hurt. Likely looking at a week 1 timeline for him to return as a possibility. Tommy Tremble a little bit sooner, possibly in the next week or so. That's what we're hearing right now. Damian Lewis, not a real update. They're just monitoring the shoulder. I think there's been some inflammation. And then Shaq Thompson is battling a hamstring, which they said they caught a little bit earlier. So hopefully that means you catch it early, give him time to, rebuild and get back in shape heading into the season. So it continues to be a focus on tight ends and quarterbacks. We'll talk about, as you talk about Ian Thomas, Tommy Tremble, Sullivan, who's already been placed on IR, the list of available tight ends continues to shrink, and there's going to be more of us relying on Jatavian Sanders, Felipe Franks, Jordan Matthews, and or going out into the market. So the team is still looking to supplement the quarterback group and tight end group. We know they want to bring in a veteran, possibly a veteran quarterback who has a little more experience in the pro offense. And I've said this on multiple occasions. If you think that Cam is going to come here for 2 or 3 weeks as a rental, I would not place my money on that. You're looking for someone who has experience, who could come in, run the system, be here as you get into preseason games and need someone else to take reps. Hopefully you have a healthy preseason, but if Jack gets hurt, you're now in dire straits trying to figure out who can take over. Player progression and development, there was a lot of time focused on Jatavian Sanders, talking about just his technique, his approach to the game, the reps that he's taking to better develop and become a true tight end. And he says there's exponential growth with these young guys as they get in and rep after rep, just continuing to focus on their craft. Jonathan Brooks update. I don't think it's any surprise that he's not going to be ready week 1. We're now hearing possibly week 3, week 4. I wouldn't hold my breath and say that's going to be the case, but week 3, week 4, possibly sooner if available. I was there. I saw him working out and running, which is a positive sign. We haven't really seen that. DJ Wonham, on the other hand, there's a good chance he could start the season on PUP. Now, Canales did say both of these guys could start the season on PUP, and if you're unsure what that is, physically unable to perform, the PUP list means the players will not be eligible to return until week 4. They have to sit out for 4 weeks. So I hope that's not the case, but that does, lean into another question with running backs that feel comfortable with the depth, but outside edge, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I think that means, there's room right now for DJ Johnson to step up. And then, yeah, after an off day, the team showed great energy and focus. Bryce Young, Derek Brown leading the way. We were right over there in individual position group drills for the defensive line. And you could hear Derek Brown getting on the guys. Like we were right there. He was like, "Hey man, pick that up." Like getting the guys motivated to stay focused, stay on task. Really good day for the offense. I mean, there weren't any pads, so guys break something loose, they get tagged. Whatever it is, the guys are going to keep running. But there were some explosive plays, some nice deep balls that we really haven't seen. Bryce Young, Deontay Johnson. So I'm excited for what that looks like. Now let's jump into here, Canales.
What's the plan for kind of supplementing that group if Ian is out close to week one right now?
Yeah, really, really, right now, I mean, first and foremost, great opportunities for Jatavian, for Jordan, and for Felipe to really get honed in on their craft. But really, practicing with three tight ends is really iffy. So we're doing our due diligence. We have some guys that we got our eye on that we're going to try to bring in short order because we got to be able to practice with a strong group. It's good for both sides. The defense needs to see multiple tight end sets, a big part of what we do. So we'll definitely be looking for somebody else to have another opportunity to show us who they are, in case we need them going forward.
So when you look out at the available tight end market, there's not a ton, but I do think this is a really great opportunity for Sanders. Like we wanted him to have a successful year and get involved. I think as the injuries stack up, there's going to be more and more of a chance for him to get more playing time. And as Canales talked about, like I said earlier, I think we are seeing the growth in his craft and technique. It's really helping become a more well-rounded tight end in the league. Now, next up, we had Taylor Moton. He went through quite a bit, talking about veteran leadership, his off days, mental toughness between his reps, getting younger guys up to speed as they take on some of the reps, and then building chemistry, looking across the offensive line. I can't remember who asked the question, but they asked about the actual size of the offensive line. And is this the biggest size offensive line that he's played with? And he had to think about it and said, yeah, it probably is. He also put on some weight. He put on some weight this offseason. I think he said 15 to 20 pounds. We clipped a small portion of that and talked again about Bryce Young's growth. I think every single person that comes to the podium, they're going to continue to ask questions about Bryce Young, his development. How does this person see it? How do you see it? Like until we get out there and have real games and we can see it ourselves, that'll be the continued approach or the way that things are asked. Offensive line cohesion, the importance of cohesion and chemistry, the integration of new players, constant effort to improve, and then an emphasis on the run game. Now let's hear a clip from him.
It is, it hides all this, but it's there.
How much weight did you put on?
A little bit, 10, 15 pounds. Enough to anchor on these bull rushes, move some people,
What have you seen from Icky so far this offseason?
Seen a lot of growth, a lot of development. He comes in with the right intent day in and day out. He's focused, and he's been a pleasure to work with this whole off season, and just excited to just continue to work with him and see him turn into the best version of himself.
You work with a lot of offense.
That weight gain, man, weight gain for these guys. And I played with I don't know, is Elon Division One, FCS, Subdivision One. Anyways, Division One offensive lineman in high school. I think it was a sophomore. He was a senior going to Elon, and the amount of food that he had to put on, one just for recruiting. I mean, he had to continuously eat. And same thing for these NFL guys. And you see a lot of the NFL guys, offensive linemen and defensive linemen, that carry all this weight during their careers. And as soon as they're done, they drop it down. They're thin as can be. So I know it's very tough for these guys to keep that weight. I mean, even here looking at this picture, you would think that he has pads on right now, and it's just a jersey, which he said. Now the tail end of that too was also focused on Ike Ekwonu and what he's seen. I think that's another question. If you're talking to the offensive line, how is he looking? What does his path look like this year compared to last year? And for folks close to the situation, we want to see him back to more of that year one Ike Ekwonu. So I think this is positive news coming out of camp. Lastly, we heard from DJ Johnson. Johnson with focus on his efforts on improving his run stopping ability. That's been one of the positives for him. There's a lot of talk about him being a number one or being the guy who starts opposite of Jadeveon Clowney with all these injuries. And I think there's a good chance we even heard Dave Canales say that he could be the starter next week. When you look at the rotation and think about the guys that are already hurt and the lack of depth, I think it's a good spot for him. Him or Clavon, it sounds like, would probably be the one or the starter outside of Clowney. A lot of focus on learning from veterans a veteran in Jadeveon Clowney, and why not learn from someone who's been wreaking havoc his entire career and wreaking havoc here in the Carolinas. That's what we've heard through training camp. Consistency in coaching. And hey, when you talk about this team, the Carolina Panthers this year, there is, on the defensive side of the ball, having that consistency in the coaching staff available that was here last year to recoach, to continue to help these guys develop. It hopefully, although we're missing pieces and had to replace, we see an improvement overall in this group and some of these guys taking a leap in their second year. Let's jump in.
Have you grown in that aspect of your game from going from a prospect to a pro?
Really just trying to live up to that expectation. Attacking the weight room, attacking the field, attacking the defensive scheme and the technique is the best way to get better at that.
Are you feeling a little bit more comfortable as an edge rusher this year than you were last year coming in?
Overall, I'm just working to get more comfortable playing football on this level, just in general, both in run and pass game.
They've lost.
Getting focused, getting better all around in his game. And like I said, I think from a pass rush standpoint, setting the edge, this dude's great. There's no question that DJ Johnson can do that. I think for us, if there is going to be some early season depth issues that I'd love to see him take, really elevate his game and start getting those pressures and getting some sacks on the quarterback with this defense. All right, folks, transaction wise, really, I guess 2 transactions occurred yesterday, busy day. So they signed safety Clayton Isbell, waived injured tight end Curtis Hodges, and then signed cornerback Anthony Brown, waived cornerback Keandre Thomas. I actually saw Anthony Brown as we were there trying out, and this is just one of the things as you go to training camp and you get more familiar with the systems and things that are in place. I had no idea who the guy was when he was trying out, but you see the coaches or they'll walk the guy over. He's usually in a plain shirt, shorts. They do a very short drill. I'm sure there's way more to it. Looking at his technique, they'll record, put it on video. I mean, the way that they record these practices, and it's not just recording film. So if you've played football, you're recording film of the plays and 11 on 11, and maybe pass scale. They are out here recording every drill. And so you are under a microscope of your technique. How do you work? How do you look in the drills? And that's how they're going to get down to some of these decisions to decide, hey, this guy or this guy. But Anthony Brown, drafted by the Dallas Cowboys, coming over here. He's had significant playing time. I have not really looked into his stats again because it was a busy day traveling back, but I'm excited to dive more into that. Still no sign of a tight end, still no sign of an additional quarterback. So we'll know there'll have to be corresponding moves for those as well. Speaking of the tight end room, like I said, it is short right now. Ian Thomas with a calf, he's hurt. Tommy Tremble battling back as well, hamstring, and then Stephen Sullivan on IR. That leaves Ja'Tavion Sanders is really your tight end 1, Jordan Matthews, and then recently acquired Felipe Franks and Curtis Hodges. So very shortish group, and then there's still thought that they bring on that end. I mean, I don't know who really is available on the free agent market at this point of the year. Maybe they're going to be looking more for waivers, but that's, you're talking months away. If they want to bring in a tight end now, they got to address it. But I think this will be a continued topic for me in this show, just to give you updates on the state of the tight end position group and room. Again, available quarterbacks as well. We've talked about this. If you've watched the other episode, I'm not going to go into it too much, but these are the available quarterbacks. I'm guessing they're going to go with maybe someone a little bit lower on the list, a Barkley, a Simeon. I don't know that you go with Woodside, but someone with a little more pro experience, maybe AJ McCarron, someone you can get in here pretty quickly, get them under center, run the offense, has experience with the pro style offense so that they can take some reps away and, help out as Andy recovers. Although Andy hopefully is going to be back pretty soon. And yes, he's a big part of this team. I still think he's quarterback 2 on the roster when healthy. Although Jack Plummer has definitely stepped up, at least what we saw yesterday in practice, taking advantage of the opportunity to get some of these reps, making some good throws. And one thing not on this list was Eddie Pinheiro, who was again fire yesterday, hit all of his field goal attempts. We got to see it right there in person, take some photos. I even tweeted it. Eddie Pinheiro liked the tweet, so shout out to Eddie Pinheiro. I said Eddie Pinheiro straight cash. He liked it, so it's cool to have those interactions, and always reminds me as a creator that they are watching, they are seeing every single thing that we put out there. We'll plug this. It's a different type of episode for me in the show. It's a vlog. Probably should have done a little more talking in between, but it's fun. It's about 6.5 minutes long. It's just a video of our trip to practice and then traveling back. Nolan couldn't hang, man. He fell asleep early on the way back home, but I can't blame him. It was a very long day, getting up early, being out in the heat 2.5, 3 hours, then back in the car and traveling back. So I will plug that. Now, the last thing we'll talk about is the Julius Peppers Hall of Fame induction. We'll take a look at the video the team shared. I recommend going out. First player drafted by the Panthers to make it into the Hall of Fame. References for me for North Carolina, Tar Heels. Like to hear that. Michael Jordan. But go back and listen to it. We do have a clip that I wanted to share from the team that, hey, it's just a good clip. Let's play it.
Being a Hall of Famer is one of my crowning achievements, but it extends far beyond pro football. It extends to my family, and it extends to my daily life. Everyone can't play in the NFL, and everyone can't have a bus here in Canton, but everyone can be a Hall of Famer in your own life. You can be a Hall of Fame dad, a Hall of Fame student, teacher, spouse, coworker, friend, whatever it is. Whatever it is that you do it with respect, integrity, passion, resilience, dedication, and gratitude. That alone will make you a Hall of Fame person, and you too can have a legacy that lives on forever. Thank you, and God bless.
Really cool moment to see that. And hey, at the end of this video, Camp Confidential, for those that remember that from last year, coming soon. So this was snuck in at the end of the video. But hey, man, I love it. Next up on the list for the Carolina Panthers, is it going to be Luke Kuechly or is it going to be Steve Smith? I think it'll be one of those two guys. Luke Kuechly is up next year. He's eligible, for the Hall of Fame. I do think there's a good chance that he gets enshrined and makes the cut. But anyways, folks, that's going to do it for today's episode. I will be back with another episode looking at updates to training camp from today. We'll be back also talking through our experience, just general review of training camp being moved. But until next time, this is Carolina Dad. Y'all have a good one.